Just because somebody has a gun and is holding a gun doesn't mean that that person is a threat, especially when the gun is not pointed at a person. When the gun is pointed at the ground, they're showing that they're not a threat. But the cop who shot the airman in Florida wanted to consider anybody holding a gun to be a threat and shot the dude 6 times in the chest. And when he was complaining about being in pain, the cop told him to shut up and stop moving.
Was the killing of a U.S. airman justifiable, or did law enforcement cross the line and overreact with the use of deadly force? It's a question FDLE investigators are now working to answer. Sheriff's deputies gunned down the man in his own home, Airman Robert Fortson. He answered the door with a gun in his hand, a gun that was pointed toward the floor. News 4 Jax reporter Tarek Miner spoke with a local defense attorney not associated with the case about the incident. And we do want to warn you, the video you're about to see may be disturbing.
You think castle doctrine would apply to the airman since he was in his own home, but as we all know, castle doctrine only applies to certain groups of people.
Sheriff's office, open the door! Step out. Drop the gun! Drop the gun!
It's the moment.
He, from what that video shows and with the audio, that he shoots them and then tells them to drop the gun. Like the person is shot several times in the chest. They're probably not going to be holding the gun after that. So why scream to drop the gun when you should have said that beforehand, before firing whatsoever? It's not like this cop doesn't have like body armor and stuff. He would be protected from being shot at. And the guy wasn't even pointing the gun at him. The cop didn't even allow the guy to say a word.
Moment Senior Airman Roger Fortson was shot 6 times in his hallway after answering the door to his apartment while holding a handgun that was pointed to the ground. The entire confrontation lasting less than 3 seconds after Okaloosa County Sheriff's deputies received this call about a physical disturbance in progress at the apartment complex.
Don't have any further other than a male and female. It's all fourth-party information through the front desk at the leasing office.
Roger Fortson was the best America had to offer. He was a patriot. He was a U.S. airman, special ops.
Civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump says the Okaloosa County deputy knocked on the wrong door because Fortson had been home alone and on FaceTime with his girlfriend at the time of the shooting. Deputies, however, dispute that claim and say the deputy responded to the right apartment. News 4 Jax asked,
How? Okay, so they're saying the cop responded to the right apartment, responding to a domestic disturbance. But where was the person that this airman was fighting with? Is he claiming that are they claiming that he was fighting with his girlfriend over FaceTime? How is that a domestic disturbance, like warranting a police visit? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I mean, it's not like you can actually like physically fight with somebody over the video. I mean, you can verbally fight, but that doesn't warrant a police call.
local defense attorney Belkis Plata, if simply holding a gun while opening the front door of your home is enough to justify law enforcement to open fire.
Someone holding a gun doesn't necessarily mean that they are posing a threat. Even in criminal law, unless you have the intent to use it, it is not the same thing as when you actually point it at someone, say words that you're going to use it or aim it in their direction.
Plata says, in her opinion, the deputy reacted out of impulse, failing to de-escalate the situation or give Fortson time to comply to his commands. It wasn't until after Fortson was shot that the deputy is heard ordering the U.S. airman to drop the gun.
Drop the gun!
Yeah, he only tells the person to drop the gun after shooting him, when he should have told him to drop the gun beforehand, give him time to react to his commands, but he doesn't. He shoots him first.
Drop the gun! 312, shots fired. Suspect down.
Plata says she still believes law enforcement will find a defense for the Okaloosa deputy's actions as to why this was a permissible act.
And I feel like that's why other eyes outside of law enforcement have to look at situations like this. Because when the officers are the ones supervising their own and reviewing their own, they have their own personal biases. They're police officers. They want to protect the police, you know, and you don't want to find fault because it was another officer might have done the exact same thing. That doesn't make it right. And
Yeah, cops will always find some kind of justification for why another one of their cops murdered a person for no reason, so that they can then also be justified in murdering people for no reasons, because cops, they love to murder people.
it's not excusable, and there have to be consequences.
Now, lawyers say typically there has to be.
And it looks like the airman was putting up his hand, being like, hey, don't shoot me at the moment, or hey, let me talk, or whatever. He was trying to say something before the cop murdered him, but the cop didn't give him a chance to say anything or do anything.
To be some behavioral indication that a person intended to cause deadly harm with their gun to justify deadly force in a life or death situation. Also, U.S. Representative Matt Gaetz.
No, cops are not allowed to use lethal force unless lethal force is used against them, and shooting a person is the only way to de-escalate the situation. The cop could have, before shooting the person, tell him to drop the gun, and if the guy didn't, that would have then given justification for shooting, but the cop just shot first and then screamed to drop the gun.
Is coming forward, speaking in the airman's defense, writing on X, in part, Roger did not deserve to die. He did nothing wrong. He is an American patriot for serving in our military and should be remembered as such, with no stain on his reputation whatsoever. Again, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement